KwaZulu-Natal Public Works and Infrastructure Department is set to hold a multi-governmental conference looking into issues surrounding hijacked and unused buildings in the province. 2 weeks ago, police raided a number of buildings in the Durban CBD where several undocumented migrants were detained for various offences, including occupying unused buildings. And KZN Public Works and Infrastructure spokesperson Steve Bengu joins us now live to chat a bit more about this. Steve, welcome to Newsroom Africa. Thank you so much for your time.
Good morning to you, Mr. Chaba, and to your listeners as well this morning.
Firstly, how many buildings are currently identified as being hijacked or unused?
Well, Mumdungwa, currently we've undertaken an ongoing audit. When Public Works MEC, Martin Meyer, came into office, he then wanted to get a scope of exactly what do we have in our books, what are we working with, and what can we do with what we have. So he then undertook a process of an audit. Currently it's ongoing, as I say, but right now we've identified more than 13,000 buildings which are on our books. Now, some of these buildings are being used the way that they're meant to. However, unfortunately, some of them are not, and others are being obviously left unoccupied, which obviously leads to, elements where they are illegally occupied. Now, a typical example of this are two buildings which we visited on Friday. We went to the Palm Beach Hotel, which was in the Durban CBD. Now, this was a hotel business which went under and some 15 years ago. And essentially, the building was a victim of criminal elements where individuals came inside and they stripped all sorts of material, probably for selling or for whatever reason. Then we went to a second one, also in the Durban CBD, in the Point Precinct, called the Siemens Institute and Rest building. Now, here we found a situation where people have, gone into the building and illegally occupied the building, making use of illegal connections and that sort of thing. So it really painted a clear picture of the sort of situation that we have in our hands.
Now, what would be the purpose of these buildings once they are reclaimed?
Well, Mr. Chaba, MEC Martin Meyer has been adamant that we need to make the department work for the public. So part of these solutions that he's put forward is to see how we can make these buildings work for the public. So maybe just to give you a bit of context, we pay around about 1.2 billion rands in rates. These are for buildings that we use and we don't use. And we pay about 900 million rands in leases. So one of the solutions that MEC Meyer has looked at is to possibly maybe house some of our department staff into some of our own buildings which we use. This will help us cut down on the leases part of things. The other part of it is to maybe see if we can move NGOs into some of these buildings that are not utilized. NGOs do great work for the community, they give back, but sometimes they run short of space and it's quite costly in terms of rental. So we could meet them halfway in that aspect. We also have schools which could be used as training centers, and we also have schools which could be converted to traditional courts in rural KZN areas. As you know, of course, KZN is largely rural. So he has and also the last option would be to sell some of these buildings outright where we see fit. So in that way, MEC Meyer has come up with a three-pronged approach to this issue, Mr. Chaba.
I think that's absolutely fantastic. So, Steve, what is the current condition of these buildings that are being reclaimed, and what repairs or renovations will be needed to make them safe?
Well, Mr. Chaba, the state of them varies, it really varies, and it also depends on the sort of criminal elements that they've been exposed to. But it is a harsh reality overall, Mr. Chaba. But of course, there is hope because obviously the MEC has undertaken to make these buildings work again. And where we can meet each other halfway, perhaps with, private individuals or private entities and who are willing to take on some of the repair work, we're happy to also have that happen. But also, the thing that we're looking forward to the most is that once we have a complete audit of all the buildings in our books, then we'll be able to identify who needs help and who needs housing so that we can be able to meet them halfway.
I love the vision that you have as a department, but it would be good to know what concrete steps will the department take to ensure that the reclaimed buildings are not simply sold off to private interests, but rather repurposed, as you've indicated, to serve the needs of the community?
So, part of it is obviously we're looking for credible, entities. So maybe a credible NGO, for example, that will come on board and make use of this because we know that they're also giving back to the community. Another element that we're looking at is partnering up with local municipalities. So, for instance, in eThekwini, the second building we looked at, which is the Siemens Rest Institute, we are in the process of handing that building over to the eThekwini municipality because eThekwini has identified a huge issue of housing shortages. We are also in a similar process in the city of Mhlathuze up in the North Coast by Richards Bay. We have some houses there which belong to us, which have been occupied, and we're also in the process of, talking to the municipality to hand those over. You'll also remember that in Ulundi, the MEC was there about some 2.5 weeks ago, where some 300 houses, which belong to us as well, were occupied. But obviously, I must stress, Mr. Chaba, that he has emphasized that there will be no evictions. No one will be thrown out onto the street, as being some fears that have been perpetuated. But because this will be done within the full prescript of the law to ensure that everything is done amicably and that, of course, everyone is happy at the end of it all.
All right, just in keeping everyone happy and ensuring that no one is thrown out, how does the department plan to collaborate with other stakeholders, such as law enforcement, to address the issue of hijacked buildings?
Well, Mr. Chava, that's where MEC Martin Meyer has announced the earmarked month of November, possibly, to hold a 2-day conference. Now, what this conference aims to do, Mr. Chava, is to find a top-down approach which will be synchronized and really mobilize both provincial and national government, including stakeholders as well, law enforcement, municipalities, among other key players as well, where they'll all come together under one roof for those 48 hours to try find solutions that will tackle the issue that we're facing with. So it seems that obviously, we always say KZN is a bit of a unique province, that the issues we have, we find that they also seem to resonate in other areas of the country as well. We look at things like the construction mafia as well, which is something that MEC Mayor has been quite vocal about and spearheading. So we hope that therefore the initiatives that come out of this 2-day conference will be ones that can be implemented and rolled out as well in other parts of the country who are facing the similar problems that we're looking at right now.
All right, Steve, let's talk about the big elephant in the room. How does the department plan to address the issue of illegal foreign occupation of hijacked buildings?
Sure. Well, MEC Mayor has been adamant that he wants to help. So one of the things we're possibly looking at is roping in, the Department of Social Development so that they can help in as well. And those who need assistance, perhaps in being documented, that may be the case. But, essentially, we want to help those who want to be helped. And like I said, he wants to do everything by the guidelines of the law and to make sure that really everything is above board and that everything really is guided by the steps of the laws of the country.
All right. So how can the public stay informed and engaged with the department's progress on this initiative?
Thanks, Mr. Chaba. Well, Mamtungwa, one of the things that MEC Mayor has also spearheaded is transparency within the department. So what he's currently looking at right now is a situation where an ordinary member of the province or the country can simply go into our database and see perhaps who's been awarded what sort of tenders. So what we're currently looking at in the near future is to have a situation where we can have a full transparency run. Perhaps, the issue of contracts is one that is also quite topical in our department. So, an ordinary citizen will be able to go into our website and have a look at who's been awarded what contract for what work, for what duration, what amounts. And this will obviously help in the process of transparency. MEC Mayor has been adamant that we want to turn the department around to one that is seen to be working because right now the image of the department, unfortunately, is quite a negative one. But we also want to reinvigorate the confidence of the public. Because obviously we are a department that works for the public and we work with taxpayers' monies. So these are one of the things that he's really thriving for, which is transparency and accountability across the board when it comes to the department.
And how are you reinvigorating the tourism sector? I mean, recently the Hilton, which has been closed for quite some time, was recently reopened. Let's talk about the redressing of old buildings and how you are facilitating that process.
Sure. So about not long ago, maybe about a month ago, he met with FEDASA, which represents the hospitality sector, and they were quite open and quite vocal about the various issues they were facing. The reality, Mamdunga, is this. The state of the derelict buildings and abandoned buildings is really, putting a downer in terms of investment and tourism in the province. So, the MEC not only has met with them, he's met with individuals who represent professionals in the civil engineering sector, as well as obviously the various forums such as the BBF, the Black Business Federation Forum. And that has been really part of a solution to say, he has an open door policy where anyone who wants to be part of the solution can come forward and really work well and hand in hand in the long term. So FEDASA has been one of those, especially representing the hospitality sector, who've come forward. And one of the commitments the MEC has undertaken is to continuously engage with them. So for instance, with the organizations representing civil engineers, he's committed that our office will be sitting in on monthly meetings, because these obviously include law enforcement. And this is obviously in the issue of construction mafias, for instance, where then we can also be part of the ongoing measures to find lasting solutions.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, Steve.